and right into the stretch. Looking back and throws up the middle. Rose is on his way around. Picked up by Otis.
Here comes the ready or not. Here comes the boys from the south. Here comes the ready or not. How you like me now? I say, here comes the boom, ready or not. Here comes the boys from the south. Boom, here comes the boom, ready or not. How you like me now?
You don't live in Cleveland, you live in Cincinnati.
You are watching live to the best damn Cincinnati sports podcast this side of Gillette Stadium. We got Bengal Dad. I'm Santori Miles. There's a guest that's going to join us in a minute. How we doing? How we doing?
This is exciting. I love it. This is a new segment, a new era for Rally Around the Natty.
All right. It's week one. It's game day. We
Yes.
got some special stuff to talk about. But first and foremost, we got to thank the people that helped pay for the show.
Absolutely.
I'm always going to start with them because they've been here the longest and they deserve the most attention, at least until they decide they don't want to work with us anymore. Imagine, if you will, September 8th, you're sitting down at Lot 1, having a great time at the Project Game Day tailgate. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. About a brisk 71 degrees.
Sweet.
What do you do to help parch that thirst? Brimming Horn Meadery. Get you some. Is it beer? Is it wine? I don't know. It's mead. It's Nordic. It's Viking. It's a great sponsor. They're out of Delaware. They're Bengal fans. Use our code HOODAY9 to get 15% off shipping for 2 bottles or more. Even you, Montana, and everywhere in New England, I think. I'll have to check on that, but I think it's most places.
But
So
not
if you want-
Delaware.
But not maybe. Does Delaware ship to Delaware?
Was it Delaware? That's not
I don't know how Delaware works. They're kind of
Where
their
is
own thing.
Delaware?
Delaware's in New England. They're Patriot fans, I think. Maybe.
There might be
With-
a Bengal fan up there.
With that being said, we're going to move on to our local sponsors. Sorry for my dogs barking. Walter! Lord almighty. Down the street from my apartment here in Lebanon, Ohio, is a very close brand to us. Script Coffee. Bengal Dad, take it away.
Take it away. Script
Yeah.
Coffee. It's good coffee. I don't drink coffee. It smells great. I can tell you that. And a lot of people love the way it tastes. And now they're at a nice little breakfast place somewhere over there in Lebanon. The exclusive coffee of that place I can't name.
Yeah, and I ate there this morning and had the white chicken enchilada. So if you know
Great
what I'm
stuff.
talking about, if you know, you know. Visit our guy,
You had
Steve
chicken
Huff.
enchilada at a breakfast place?
Well, listen, it was like lunch.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on, and I know this one is probably your favorite. Midwest Best Barbecue
Best freaking barbecue and creamery.
and Creamery.
It's some
I
good
have-
stuff. It
I've had
really
the
is.
Creamery. I've had the barbecue.
I haven't had the creamery. I recommend the barbecue. Most of the wings. That one that everybody is their favorite, the Dillinator. Not so sure about that one. But the Grippo's wings, woohoo, good stuff.
All right. So now that we're into the show, we're always going to do our Project Game Day update. You know what the best part about this is? It's the first tailgate for Project Game Day, the official first tailgate. September 8th, Lot 1, 9 a.m. Be there. Condados Tacos, Garage Beer, Buskin Cookies. I got to go pick those up. It's going to be a good time. We're rocking and rolling.
Rocking and rolling.
We got our nomination. We got the food. We got the beer. We got the tailgate. We got the girls. We got the money. We got the ring.
Sabo,
Sabo.
we just need to get
We need
Chase.
the ring. We need
We
the
need
ring.
Chase. Where's
We need-
Chase at?
We need Chase.
We need Chase.
All right. Now, with that being said, something new that we're doing here on Rally Around the Natty. We want to get to know the entire NFL. You guys just don't want to listen to me and my dad scream at each other on a podcast for the next 20 years. I hope it's 20 years. So we're going to bring on other people to scream, yell, hoot, and holler. But we want to get to know their side of the story. There's always two sides. You know, Bengals fans hate the Steelers. Steelers hate the Bengals. Vice versa. But we don't want to hate. We want everybody to come together. We all love the NFL. We all want to win. We all want to ring. So we're going to go to the fan base with, at the moment, has a lot of flipping rings.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Thomas Brady. And
We
we're
envy-
going to
we
bring
envy
on
this fan base.
we do to a bit. And we are going to bring on Patriots super fan, The silver bullet. How we doing?
Let's go. Let's do this. Opening day's coming up tomorrow.
How we doing, sir?
I'm good. And you?
I'm fantastic. We got kickoff tomorrow. I got pulled pork on the smoker. It's football season. The weather's finally cooling down, which is nice for me because I'm not a skinny guy, so I don't like to perspire in the heat. But man, well, I love having the super fans. I love hearing other teams' perspectives. What's the feeling going into week one?
Well, I mean, obviously, you guys are a good team. So, and the fact that you're at home, it's at home for you guys in Cincinnati. So, we actually want to see what's going to happen because obviously the team that we're going to see on Sunday is going to be, predominantly the team we're going to see for the entire season. Up till now, we had our 3 preseason games, checking to see who's going to happen, who's going to fit where, who they have to drop, and who we add. And, eventually I think it's probably going to take us probably like 3-4 weeks for us to start gelling because obviously we got a new coach, we've got a new quarterback. We just have a lot of new positions. We'll see where that happens. I mean, we have our old favorites. Dave Andrews is still at center, and Hunter Henry's still one of our tight ends. So, it's a matter of gelling. And the simple fact is, irregardless, being a diehard fan my entire life, going to games since I was 6 years old, like I've seen the good, the bad, and the indifferent. And a lot of people say, I think the younger version, people that are under like I'd say 30, they don't know how bad the Patriots were back in the 90s. I'm sure your dad can attest to this. But we were actually the Patriots were the bottom of the barrel. So like we were so bottom of the barrel that one season we only won 1 game and another season we won 2. And actually, fortunately, with that first overall draft pick, we picked up Drew Bledsoe, who actually in my lifetime changed, and I actually got to see. I didn't go to my first Super Bowl. In 97. So obviously I wasn't, old enough to know the whole Bears one in 85. But the simple fact is in my lifetime, that was the beginning of it all. And, we still love Drew Bledsoe because he was the start of everything changing because along with him, I'm not sure if most people realize is we could have ended up being sold off and, going anywhere else in the United States. In fact, there was a possibility, of us going, to California or even down south, North Carolina, I think they were looking at. But the simple fact is, Mr. Kraft came in and said, you know what, I'm going to buy this team and keep it here because that's where I'm from. So my heart breaks, obviously, for the San Diego fans that lost their team because I actually went there for one of their very last games when we played them. And phenomenal fans. Great place to go, especially in December. I'm there like December 12th. You know what I mean? You're in San Diego and not home in New England where it's, freezing and 20 below. We're on a beach. We went jet skiing. I think that was probably one of the first times ever that I got to dip my feet, into the Pacific Ocean because I'm being here from New England, like we got ocean everywhere. And I grew up, my family had a beach house in Narragansett, Rhode Island. So I grew up at the beach. So I'm a scuba diver, I'm a fisherman, so we've got everything here, when it comes to the ocean and, and the sea. So that broke my heart. Didn't realize what happened because that could have happened to us. That could have been the Patriots could have been anywhere but here. And unfortunately that happened, for a couple of teams. Obviously now for the Raiders, which went to Vegas, which isn't too far, but still 4 hours is 4 hours, but and the same thing for San Diego, moving all the way up to LA. And it's kind of funny. I was in LA for the Chargers game, I think 3 years ago. And I actually met some huge fans there for the Chargers. And they said, yep, we drive the 4.5 hours up every single game day. So that to me, that's dedication and that's drive because to go, to have your life, envelop around this sport, that we love so much, that we're dedicated, driven, and committed to, is something. So, because I don't know if I still would have been a Patriot fan had, the Patriots moved to, I don't know, North Carolina or even, California. I don't know. I don't know how that would.
That's what I was going to ask you is, Did those thoughts cross your mind? What's going to happen? What am I
Absolutely.
going to feel like if this happens?
1,000,000,000%. Because one of the other things that happened was Mr. Kraft had gotten an offer from New London, Connecticut, and said, "Hey, we'd love to have your team come down here and build a stadium." So, and it's like, oh, would I, go down to Connecticut, and drive through the traffic and go, 2 states away, because Massachusetts, you can go through Massachusetts into Rhode Island, into Connecticut. It's like, would I do that? And I'm very fortunate that I didn't have to, because what most people don't realize is we're really spoiled here in New England, and it's not even from the wins. It's a simple fact that we have every single sport covered, like irregardless. And most people, they don't realize until I tell them that. Obviously, we got the Boston Red Sox, but you also know we also have their minor league team, the Worcester Red Sox. And of course, we have the Boston Bruins, but we also have their minor league team, the Providence Bruins. Of course, we got the Celtics. And of course, what most people also don't realize, if you're not into it, because it's a different kind of sport for most normal, red-blooded Americans, is we actually have an elite soccer team called New England Revolution. So, like, you don't have to leave to go to see something. And that's what's very important. We actually have an even indoor football league, up in Worcester. So there's pretty much nothing we don't have here. And I think that's where we grew up spoiled. My grandparents actually lived 2 blocks away from what was then the Pawtucket Red Sox, which is the minor league team for the Red Sox, and all of the Boston players would rehab there. So, like, the amount of players that I met there, it was just crazy, because they're there for, a week, 2 weeks, or a month. And, I actually got to meet, like Carlton Fisk up front and personal, as opposed to being up at Fenway. So,
one of Cincinnati's favorite Red Sox, Carlton Fisk.
Yeah,
of course.
there was a moment that I still remember as a kid. I had a hard time sleeping that night.
Sorry, didn't want to bring up any bad vibes, but I'm just saying, I think that's where we're very fortunate. And people say, where would you be? And the simple fact is being introduced to all sports, when I was 5 or 6 years old. Like my first game ever, I was 6 years old, and I went to my first game at, the then Foxborough Stadium or Schaefer Stadium. And that's where you learn, what your love is. Now, I can also preface this with saying that I also played football and baseball as a kid. So those are my 2 favorite sports because I played them. And what actually is going to help, and most people will realize, is when I played football, I was a center. And when I played baseball, I was a catcher. You're talking about 2 pivotal positions in your 2 favorite sports that the game, because you're involved in the game. You're right there in the center of it all. So I think that's why my drive, dedication, and commitment, to become this, that's where it all came from, to be honest with you.
Now, speaking of becoming this, and I know we kind of went on it off air, but, not everybody got to hear that.
No.
You want to share the story of how you became you, and then how long the whole get up takes? Because there's a lot going on there in a good way, honestly.
Yeah.
But
so
process.
It all goes back to the first, as I said, the first Super Bowl I watched, was in '97, obviously. And that was, as I said, Drew Bledsoe, was our revival. We were coming from, being in the basement with 1 win all season. And to be honest with you, just to let you know, that 1 win wasn't even at home. It was in Indianapolis. And so imagine that. You go to every single home game and they're all a loss. And I don't just mean a loss. I mean like a disaster. Like Miami, I think, beat us by like 3-60. You know what I mean? And you're sitting there through the entire game saying, they got to do something better than this. We were just happy that we got 1 field goal. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, they were just whooping our butt and they didn't even care. They didn't even care about taking names. So when the opportunity came up in 2001, I'm not sure if, you or all your fans are aware that when your team goes into Super Bowl, obviously they can't send every single season ticket holder, because we've got like 45,000 season ticket holders now, for the Patriots. And your name goes into a drawing, and they pull out and they ask everyone, hey, listen, we've got, 2, 3, 4 tickets, whatever it is. Do you want to go? And they only give you like 24 hours. You got to pay the money, and then you got to book your flight and your, hotel and everything. So it came up, and my grandfather said, to me and my cousin, you guys want to go? We got 2 tickets. So first Super Bowl ever, ironically, because my grandfather had gone to the one both in 85 and 97. He went to both of them. So he had seen what a Super Bowl was. He just never got to see a Super Bowl win. Unfortunately, he actually passed before he got to see either the Patriots or the Red Sox, win a world championship. But we said, yeah, we'll go. And believe it or not, the tickets were $500. My first Super Bowl that I actually went to were $500. And it was just an incredible experience to go. And the one thing I can actually tell, like all fans out there, no matter what, and I know people can say, well, you guys are spoiled because, in the 21st century, you guys have been, 10 times and you've won 6 times. But the simple fact is, I learned each time I went. So I'm also going to preface this with the fact that I've actually been to 4 Super Bowls that the Patriots have won. So 4 out of the 6, I've never been to a losing. And the reason I didn't go to every single one is if I'm not getting offered tickets, I'm not going to spend $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 a ticket to go. So we'll just, leave it at that. I'm not completely made of money. But the simple fact is the first time I went, we actually flew down on a Friday and flew back on a Monday. And it really is magical. So if I can convey anything to any fan out there, including both of you and your entire fan base, is if there's ever a chance to go to Super Bowl, not even go to the game, just go for the experience of the entire week. It's off the charts. You're going to meet fans from all around the world, and you're just going to see so much. There's so many players, retired and current, that are just roaming around that you never know who you're going to, bump into. It's quite the experience. So if it comes anywhere near close to Cincinnati, which I highly doubt, because they're against going anywhere cold after the whole New York. It doesn't matter how much Mr. Kraft puts into Gillette up here, including the biggest outdoor Tron in the entire NFL. Goodell's never going to let them up here because you got to deal with the cold weather because it's just a fact of it, So I can honestly say every single time I've ever been, it's been in the warm climate. Went to Houston, went to Atlanta, went to Jacksonville, and of course I went to New Orleans. So it's never been anywhere cold. And I did hear about the whole New York that was a debacle because pretty much everything's outside, with the exception of being in like a civic center or a dome stadium. Like you're outside for everything. And of course, both MetLife and Gillette Stadium are outdoor stadiums. So, those people that want to be up in the suite, they'd have to bundle up and buckle up, Buttercup, because it's going to be cold, especially in February, here in New England. So, but that's the one thing, if I can convey to any of your fans or you guys, is absolutely, if you get a chance to just go, and see what Super Bowl is all about, just go, because the whole Super Bowl week, there's all kinds of things going on. But anyway, so that first, I'm sorry, what?
Go ahead. I'll come back
so
to
that first, so that first time, of course, was incredible because, of course, we won. You know what I mean? So beating the Rams in New Orleans with a Vinatieri kick, it was iconic. It was just, to me, it was very emotional because, as I said, my grandfather passed away before seeing the Patriots, or the Red Sox ever win. So, to us, it was like, well, Grandpa, this is for you, that you got to see it. And that's why I think that, this all means so much to me, because in me creating this, I said, you know what? I didn't know then. So before anyone said, oh, really? The simple fact, it was the first time I ever went to Super Bowl, the first time we ever won. I wanted to design something. And so I'm not sure if so I'd actually said, you know what, let me see how best I can be, what we call this the Flying Elvis, how much I can recreate that. And I actually took 3 coat hangers and I sewed fabric on it. I hand painted. And I started off with grease paint that you can get at any party store. So it was instead of being a silver like it is now, it was just kind of a grayish, silver. So that was my first shot at, becoming the Silver Bullet. And I never named myself, just to let you know. The announcers named me in Miami 5 years after my first appearance. I actually just wanted to be that one guy. So I actually took a Drew Bledsoe jersey. I tore the one up the front and the back. And his name, I know it's a sacrilege because I love Drew, And I was just that one guy. So from the first 5 years of the existence of me, I was the one guy. That's all I wanted to be. But then, my 5th year, I went to Miami because I've been to every single stadium in the entire NFL, at least once. And of course, in my division, I've been to Buffalo 14 times. I've been to Miami 8 times, and I've been to Jets, Giants 9 times, because obviously twice for the Giants and 7 times for the Jets, because the Jets are in our division. And it's also the closest stadium to me. It's literally 3.5 hours away. So why not drive and go? And then Buffalo is about 5.5 hours away. And then who doesn't want to be in Miami? I'm actually going to Miami this year. It's a whole flight, but I can get a direct flight, straight out of Boston to go, down to Fort Lauderdale. And I'm actually going the end of November. So the weather won't be so great here, but it'll be beautiful down there. So from Super Bowls, it just built up from there, and after being in Miami for that game, after my 5th year of being Mr. One, the camera was on me, and the announcer said, "Hey, look, it's a silver bullet from Foxborough," and I didn't think anything of it. But now, of course, mind you, it was on national television. Now, the very next week, I'm back in Foxborough for a regular game. And then the announcers, again, the camera gets on me, and the announcers say, "Hey, look, it's a silver bullet. I wonder what gauge he is." So all the guys in my tailgate said, "You know what? That's it. You're the silver bullet," because now you had announcers, 2 different weeks, nationally call you on television the silver bullet. So as a joke that Christmas, they all chipped in and got me my first jersey that says, silver bullet. So no more, ripped off Bledsoe jersey, and ripped off ones. And it's just stuck since then. But and then I learned each year each opportunity I had to go to a Super Bowl, I went sooner and sooner, up until the last time, which was in Atlanta 5 years ago. I went on Monday, you know what I mean? And then I stayed Monday to Monday. I stayed a whole week because there's just so much going on, and it begins with like the media night, which is crazy because just everything's going on and you're learning all what's going on all week. And there's just so many activities and so many people, to meet throughout the entire week. And I think that was probably one of my absolute greatest experiences, other than, of course, in Houston versus, the Falcons for, the very first overtime Super Bowl and biggest comeback in the history of Super Bowls. But being in Atlanta, I just met fans from absolutely everywhere. Like, they were just coming up to me like, "Oh, we're from New Zealand. We're from Australia. We're from Canada. We're from Brazil." And, that was kind of my telltale sign that the NFL was going international, to see that many people, traveling and showing up, to attend all the Super Bowl activities. I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is worldwide. And maybe even a forecast before that, when I was in Houston, I ended the next day after Super Bowl, I actually had a fan on social media contact me and say, "You were just on the Venezuelan national newspaper under Tom." So Tom Brady was up top and I was right under him. They're like, "There you are." I'm just like, so very fortunately, they sent me the newspaper, so I still have that for posterity to keep. But I think that was where I really started growing, that people, have seen me and just say that I'm, this beacon for them. And I think what kind of, really touches my heart when they're like, "We're living through you vicariously," what you post on social media and how and what you do, like, and we look and wait to see you on, national television, yelling and screaming because, the cameras just, look to find you. So I think that's the greatest thing for me, is that fans around the world accept me, and don't look at me and say, "Wow, he's crazy, he's wild, he's stupid." But and I know for people outside of the NFL, like, you would look and say, "Yeah, he's a fruitcake, he's beyond crazy," especially, knowing that I travel, what I mean? So I go to like 4 away games every single year. And of course, I've continued the tickets since they were my grandpa. This is the 37th year that we've had the tickets that we have. And then, as I said, to me, I'll be honest with you, I would have been coming to Cincinnati for the game because it's early in the season. So the weather's, really decent. Not that weather's a problem, because I'm actually going to Buffalo in December, which is probably one of the worst places to go other than New England.
Good luck.
because of the whole lake effect, you know, and everything, and the fact that they are a little wild up there. Just to let you know, being in my division, I can tell you that. And I've been there 14 times. But the simple fact is that my job only told me a month and a half ago, oh, by the way, you know, you're going to a conference. I'm like, wait, what? Number one, you know, that's opening day. You know, number two, you know how dedicated I am. Like, my bosses know, you know, who am I and what I am. So, and it's like, yeah, how are we going to, I lucked out because I was actually able to change my plane tickets. So I'm to go to another game. I'm actually going to go to Nashville. I'm going to Miami. I'm going to go to Buffalo. So it wasn't a problem moving my plane fare. I had Southwest. Like, okay, you know, I'm just going to shift that and I'm going to go do Nashville. So it worked out in the end. But the simple fact is I would have been there for opening day. And I actually did. I met, I've met Houday because I'm actually part of a fan group. It's called Elite Superfans. And we are actually, you know, our motto is anti-bullying, you know, always sticking up for people. So this way, if any of your viewers ever come out to New England, please, you know, hit me up on social media. Everybody's welcome to my tailgate. I'm actually one of the closest tailgates to the stadium, which makes it that much safer because obviously you don't have to worry about the walk. But number two is everyone knows that visiting fans are with me from all around the world. And you're under my wing and my protection. No one's ever going to touch you, or, you know, no harm will come to you, guaranteed, if you're in and around me, because, you know, I'm kind of a staple, you know, in the parking lot that I am. Like, literally, you know, you can the minute you get out of the stadium, when you come out where the lighthouse is, like, my tailgate's right there on the left-hand side, which is kind of crazy. And that's probably, you know, one of the perks of being a 37-year season ticket holder, that, you know, we all have our spot. So, and there's like 30 people in my tailgate. So, you know, it's just lots of fun. And you know, I tell people if they've never been to a game, because, you know, how many times people tell me, you know, when I'm so comfortable sitting on my couch or in my recliner with you, with my beer and, you know, and my pizza, I'm like, 90% of the fun is going to a tailgate. And people don't get that. I mean, if you want to, you know, get it down to numbers, you know, 10% is the whole rivalry and the yelling and the screaming inside of a game and what happens on the field. But 90% of everything else that happens is at a tailgate. And people will just never get that until they do. So one of my friends was actually a Dolphins fan, took him to his first game ever after 16 years trying to get him to come. He came, he's like, I never believed how you guys said how awesome the tailgate is and how great everyone is. He's like, and here we are. So if I can ever, you know, get that point of view out, if you've never been to, you know, a tailgate, then definitely go. It's absolutely incredible. And in fact, I've had people that come to the tailgate and they don't go into the game. You know, they'll like go to a bar. You know, one of the bars that I should also say this, that Gillette Stadium is the only stadium that has a wraparound mall with 2 built-in hotels. You're not going to find that anywhere else. Although word is Jerry Jones is trying to copycat us, but he's got I don't know if you've ever been to AT&T. He has the room, you know, to go all around, but nobody has what we have. Well, including the biggest lighthouse in the entire USA. But as far as that, if you ever want to experience, come up and experience what Patriot Place is. We actually have the biggest Bass Pro Shop on the whole East Coast. It's 2 floors with 30 acres behind it, and you can go out and test drive, you know, a 4-wheeler, you know, which is kind of crazy.
I'm ready.
Yeah, I know. Come on up. So, and we got cranberry bogs behind it as well. So if you want to go for a nice nature hike and walk, it's all built in, you know. And we got axe throwing, indoor skydiving. It's kind of crazy. Like, you don't even have to leave. Once you come to the stadium and you park, you can just, there's nothing you can't do. We got 25 different restaurants, and, you know, we got a movie theater, a bowling alley, you know what I mean? Like, you name it, we pretty much got, we got a brewery.
Is this a tailgate or downtown Disney?
I know. For adults, that's exactly what it is. But unless you travel, you're not going to realize what it is. Not to take away from anywhere else. Obviously, I've been to Cleveland, and you got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame next door. You know, but even if you go all the way down to Hard Rock, down to Miami, there's nothing around it. You got zero. Like, you really have to, like, normally I stay in Fort Lauderdale and then we go to the game in Miami. But the simple fact is there's nothing. I mean, even if you look at the Vikings in Minnesota, they do have the Mall of America, but it's like 5 miles away. So it's not like park and just go have fun and walk around. And the same thing, even Atlanta, it's right downtown Atlanta, but you don't have anything that close to it. So you ever get a chance?
I gotta tell you, my son and I missed all of that.
Oh no.
We went to a Bengal game in New England.
Well, hold on. Let's preface this.
Okay,
We went to the We're On to Cincinnati game at night.
Yes, that's the game we went to. That was
Okay.
the worst game in the world to ever go to.
We got
You guys were
obliterated.
very motivated. Tom Brady comes out of the hole like he's freaking Superman.
Oh,
I'm thinking,
God.
oh, we're gonna get crushed.
I remember standing, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know how many entrance gates there are to Gillette Stadium, but I remember I was in high school. We got off the train. It like dropped us off kind of near the stadium in like a wooded area. I don't know if this sounds familiar.
No, it's not far. It's actually next in my pocket, near where my tailgate is. You're not that far. In fact, we hear when the trains come in. But go on.
So we're walking in, and everybody's funneling through for whatever reason, just the one gate. And as away fans, we're just kind of following the crowd. So we could have been doing it wrong. Don't know. Whatever. There's some hooting and hollering. I'm wearing my Bengal gear. I'm pretty sure I had an Andy Dalton jersey on for what it's worth. And I remember just looking up when I'm at the gate, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering this right, I can see the Jumbotron from the gate entrance over one of the end zones.
You can, yes.
And the camera was zoomed in on Tom Brady's face, and it was just like the eyes up. And he just had that locked in, we're going to kill somebody look in his eyes. And I looked at my dad, and I was like, I think we should go home. I think this is going to be really bad.
It was really bad.
It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
It never is. And as I said, I travel. So I've seen some disaster. I was actually in Miami for the Miami Miracle.
Oh,
so
that's a tough one.
Oh,
yeah, it was tough. Especially, I mean, who puts Gronk as a safety? Like, seriously, that was how we ended the game. We're all just like there, like baffled, like what the heck is going on? And here we are in the middle of Miami fans who this is their Super Bowl, of course, mind you, because there's nothing else for them, to look forward to. But it's funny. I just actually did Emeril Lagasse's tailgates, and it just came out yesterday. So, and it was with my friend who happens to be a Dolphins fan, and we talked about that. How I think that whenever we play Miami, for the past decades, I think they always try harder. Like, it's the Patriots, so we gotta do what we can do, and we pretty much with them. I think they've probably been the toughest team for us in our division. That will battle back a lot of times. Like, we'll win one, they'll win one. Actually, I said my buddy, who is a Dolphin fan, he's like, yep. He's like, up here, you guys win. Down there, you lose. So it was kind of that way, for a long time. I think I've only seen like 2 wins down in Miami. And I have been there, like I said, like 7 times. So it's different. It really is. And I mean, I think now, obviously, we get that with Buffalo. But, they've been good, really good, for the past, 6 or so years. So things have changed. In fact, I used to always go to Buffalo because it was the cheapest tickets in the NFL. You could go for $50 and $15 to park. You were in the lower bowl, and I'm not kidding you. I'd be like in the 2nd row, the 4th row for $50. You're like, damn, you can't even come close to that at Gillette. Now, fortunately, depending on how Aaron Rodgers is this year, last year I went and it was $50 for lower bowl, and I think if I had to choose, probably Cleveland's the next, pretty cheap stadium if you ever want to go to a reasonable game and not be gouged. Because I mean, I've been totally gouged at like Vegas and Dallas and in LA, and it's like, this is just crazy, the kind of money you pay to be a visiting fan. But yeah, I've tried to pick, the more reasonable. Fortunately, like I said, I have a friend in Miami, so she already got me a ticket. Because she came here last year. So I got her a ticket with me in front row, and she's getting me a ticket in front row this year with her. So it kind of helps to have an outreach of fans that, what? I think it's because we appreciate each other and we know what it is to be a dedicated, driven, committed fan for your team, and I think if anything's proven for us for the past 5 years is that I'm kind of, in a way, I wouldn't want to say happy, but I'm kind of glad because now we're losing those bandwagon fans that jumped on, through the years, so I'm from here and I probably haven't said this.
We've got a lot of bandwagoners right now.
Yeah.
So So I actually bought my house to be in the next town over from Foxborough. It's called Rentham. And it's one of the oldest towns in the entire United States. Actually, the oldest library in the U.S. is actually in the next town over. It's the Franklin Public Library, named after Benjamin Franklin, because there's actual books that he dedicated that are still in the library in a hermetically sealed case. But my house in Foxborough would be twice the money. So nothing wrong with where I am, but we don't even in Rentham, we don't have a supermarket. We have one drugstore, and we have 2 gas stations, and then one that's a mixed gas station / service station. Like, they are so snobby, stuck up here that they don't want any business in, which as a homeowner you don't like, because you want the taxes to come down. But the fact is, for me, it's all about location. Actually, I'm at the stadium in 7 minutes from my house. So, and actually, it's probably closer than some people that actually live in Foxborough. So for me, like, that's the dedication. It also helps that my job's also 12 minutes away from my house too. So, it's all about where you live. In fact, that's the biggest joke in my tailgate. Most of the members of my tailgate are about an hour in different directions. I have one friend who's an hour away in Connecticut, and the other one is an hour away up by Salem, Massachusetts. So they all know I'm further away from Boston, of course. What most people don't realize is that Foxborough is actually closer to the Rhode Island border than it is Boston. And it's just the way it's set up, you know what I mean? And people just don't realize, because I'm originally from Rhode Island, and people like, you're from Rhode Island and, you're a huge Patriots fan. I'm like, well, I'm closer than a lot of people. Where I lived in Rhode Island, I was about 25 minutes away from the stadium. So, and that's why when I tell people, when you come in here, don't stay in Boston unless you want to do stuff in Boston. It's fine if you want to go to Fenway Park, you want to go to the Garden, you want to go to Cheers, Quincy Hall, Faneuil, Quincy Market, Faneuil Hall. That's fine. But if you're actually coming here just for the game, don't stay in Boston. Don't even fly into Boston. If you can, fly into Providence. It's actually 30 minutes away from the stadium, and you don't have to deal with all the traffic of Boston and, and the whole tunnel and all that other good stuff. So that's why I try to tell anyone, if you're coming here, that's when actually I have someone who's coming out from the Chargers game, and I told him, I said, yeah.
I wish sorry for cutting you off. I wish I'd have known you like 10 years ago before that game.
Well,
because you're like, don't go to the airport. And I had an issue with the airport. You're like, don't go to Boston. And I'm like, I had issues in Boston.
We went to Boston.
Yeah.
And then we have a 90-minute train ride on the Patriot train, and it only left at 6:05, and that was it.
Yep. That's true.
It must have been going 5 miles an hour.
And I'll be honest, at the time, I was probably 16, 17 years old, whatever it was. And I was writing for a blog site, and they asked me to write about my experience in Gillette. And I was like, the piece is still floating around out there, but it's less than favorable. So if you don't want to read it, don't go there. But every single thing that I had complained about in that piece, you just checked off as a do not do. So I kind of feel justified, but I'm kind of like, man, if I'd have known you, I probably would have had a 10 times better experience.
1,000,000,000%, because unless you want to do stuff in Boston. If you said, I want, so I'll be honest. So my friend that came up from Miami last year, I got her a private tour of Fenway because the game was in September. And that was her bucket list, because she's also, like me, a huge baseball fan as well. So she needed to have that. And fortunately, I have a friend. Actually, I had season tickets with the Red Sox. I dropped them. Only because of price, because I was able to pick up more tickets for the Patriots, and of course, to me, that's more important. And I have friends who have Red Sox tickets, so I can go anytime I want. Actually, I got friends that have Bruins tickets or Celtics tickets. In fact, I'm already going to the Celtics opening day when they drop the banner, so that'll tell you something about what kind of a sports fan I am. But the simple fact is, if you're doing stuff in Boston, all right, then that's fine. If you say, you want to go to Cheers, you want to go to Fenway, that's fine. But why stay there? I tell most people, if you're going to fly in, if you can fly into Providence, because that airport is so much better, so much nicer. And you don't have to deal with anything about all the traffic in and around Boston. It's also closer. It's about 25 minutes away from the stadium, because you know what? They don't say that they're the Boston Patriots. Now, once upon a time in my grandfather's life, they were the Boston Patriots. They're not. Okay? They're the New England Patriots, and they're located in Foxborough, and they're closer to the Rhode Island border than they are Boston itself. So if you're coming in, obviously, from another country, then, well, chances are you're going to have to fly into Boston. But if you have an opportunity and you don't mind a layover somewhere, because there aren't too many direct flights to fly into Providence, I say fly into Providence and then stay closer to Providence. Or if not, actually the next town over on the other side of Foxborough is called Mansfield. And there's actually a train. So if you are flying in and out of Providence or Boston, most people don't realize we have a really good transit system here. The train actually goes all the way up to the Boston airport or the Providence airport. Actually, it'll take you all the way to New York. You can actually take the train. If you're coming from New York, you can actually take the train. The Amtrak goes all the way, straight into South Station in Boston. So just a lot of opportunities. And so if anybody ever wants to consider, well, so I'll invite you now. In 4 years, we're playing you here.
See, now I'll consider it, because I'll be honest. 10 minutes ago, I wouldn't have considered going because of a previous experience. But now that I know, what to do, where to go, how to get there, different routes to take, different places to stay, that's why I want to get other fans on this show. Because it changes my entire perspective. Because at the end of the day, we all just want to win. We all want to enjoy our Sundays. And I want to be able to, my bucket list is to go to every stadium. I've been to maybe 6 or 7. I got a long way to go. But I have been to Gillette, and now it does make me want to go back. And it makes me feel good knowing that I would be welcomed at your tailgate as a Bengals fan. Because we all know a tailgate somewhere that would not welcome an opposing fan base.
Oh, yes. And as I said, I've been to every single stadium at least once, and there are a couple that I would not relish going back to, even though I know fans from there. And it's really sad, not to tote any particular team over another. I'll be honest with you, every single time I've ever been to Carolina, nothing against Bengals, nicest fans in the entire NFL I've ever met out of all my years of traveling, and I'm now at, 22 years of traveling. Every single time, like, hey, come on over. You want something to eat? Want something to drink? I'm not saying I don't get that at other places. I do. But I'm just like, I was just amazed. I'm like, damn. And they're like, well, you're not in our division. We don't play you every year. There's no reason for us not to like you. And I have nothing against the Bengals at all. Zero. In fact, I wish you guys luck. I was hoping for you guys. I was pulling for you guys, previously, if I'm going to pick another team, guess what? I'd rather have you over the big than the big bad red Mahomes. You know what I mean? Like, go Bengals.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest with you.
I missed all of that.
You did.
I heard it. I didn't.
You'll get to hear it. So I'll be honest. So last year, anytime a Patriots player gets into the NFL Hall of Fame, I usually like to go. So last year, of course, we had a mix. It was kind of /Jets /Patriots. And of course, I went when Ty Law, who's one of my absolute favorite all-time players, he made it into the NFL Hall of Fame. So I went last year, and I actually went to the game with my friend, and he's a Browns fan. And of course, the Browns played the Jets. I said, I'll root for you Browns all day long. I said, because, you know what I mean? I don't care about the Jets, and you're my friend. So here I am at the Hall of Fame game in Canton, dressed like this. And I'm like, go Browns, So, and everyone's like, what are you
there before?
They're like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, I got no dog in this game. Who cares? So I might as well root for my buddy and, and his family that, invited me out, to spend the week with him. And I did. So, and I don't hate any particular team. I think we're all fans of football and the NFL. And I've always said this, that it's all about geography. Like, if it weren't for the fact that I am me, that I grew up here, I wouldn't like everything Boston, in New England. It's just, I live here. I grew up here. And as I said, my first game, I was 6 years old. I think it was probably 4 that I went to my first Red Sox game. But it's just, it's innate. It's a part of the culture here, that you got to love sports. One of them anyway, one of the many sports that we have here.
Right.
In fact, that most people don't realize, how close we are, to the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. We actually have the NBA Hall of Fame in Springfield. So, it's here. Yeah. People are like, wait, what? Yeah, Springfield, Massachusetts.
I'm not an NBA guy, so I would have never guessed that.
Okay. So it's all right here. We actually even have, like the Sailing Hall of Fame is in Newport, Rhode Island. So like, there's just so much to do here. Like, it's where they have the cup, and I feel like I was just blessed to be who I was and grew up who I was and become who I was. And I think when people were looking back, they're like, you know what? I don't think I would have seen you any other way than being the crazy super fan that you are. And what's funny is when I start talking like this and I say, okay, well, there's me and then there's him. So like he's my Clark Kent. You know what I mean? And I'm the Superman, or I'm the Deadpool. Like I'm the change into somebody, because as this, I have no inhibitions. I can yell, I can scream, I can lose my voice, because I am professional. I actually have a professional job, for a local distribution company. And people, like, whenever someone tells them like who I am, they're like, no, that's not you, until they pull up, they Google, New England Patriots fan, and there I am, and then they get to watch a video of me yelling and screaming and shouting, and or they see the cover of ESPN that once upon a time that I been to the Super Bowls is like just crazy. I wouldn't have expected. Speaking of which, so one of the big things that I love to do that's near and dear to my heart is charity. So I'm involved with a lot of charities. As I was saying to your father earlier, just last week I actually did a charity event. And I love the kids, because the kids come out and they just think that I'm this giant cartoon character, and they just think that it's the coolest, greatest thing in the world. So I've got, which I don't happen to have with me right now, I actually have some replica Super Bowl rings. But one of the other things that I have, and which I was very fortunate enough to get, is actually a replica Super Bowl trophy that I take with me, to charity events. And as I was showing your father on the pre-gaming, you can actually see that it says Silver Bullet.
That's the dream right there.
Isn't that cool?
So
I couldn't imagine. That would.
That really makes you feel like you're part of the team.
Yeah.
Well, and then they invite me with players and our mascot Pat the Patriot and the cheerleaders, and like, hey Keith, can you do this? Can you want to do that? And I'm like, why would I turn it down? Like, I'll be honest with you, like the amount of players that I've got to hang out with and just like see them as like real people and just say, wow, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I'm sure you don't have a G-rated audience. So I've actually done shots, with, Julian Edelman and Ty Law and, and Danny Amendola. And, it's just like that. It's just crazy. They're like, really? Like, people like, I'd be shell shocked, like I'd be stage fright. And I think it's just because of the way it's all evolved around me that, man, they're just somebody, no big deal. It's like, they're like, have you met Tom? Well, yeah, quite a few times. And I actually ended up in a Showtime special with Gronk. He actually asked that I could be, in his comedy special. Of course, Gronk's not really that funny, but he had one. You can look it up. It was called Unsportsmanlike Conduct. It was on Showtime about 8 years ago. And I was on it. I spent the entire day with Gronk. You know what I mean? And the funny thing is, I said, oh, I hate to bother you, but would you, give me an autograph? He's like, yeah. He's like, but when I'm done with you, can I have one from you? And I'm like, oh, yeah. So I'm just blown away when it's like that. In fact, funny story, going back about 15 years, Gerard Mayo, who is our now head coach, I actually went to a meet and greet with him. And I wasn't dressed, but my buddies, they love to be like, you know who he is? And I'm like, come on, don't embarrass me. Not that I really can be embarrassed. And it's like, he's a Silver Bullet. And he's like, really? He's like, did you bring your stuff? I said, I did, but obviously this wasn't for me. She's like, yeah. So I went and got dressed. Gerard Mayo's calling her over his wife. Get over here. I'm going to get a picture with the Silver Bullet. And I'm like, what? Like, it's just crazy how it is. And when I have players that know me out of makeup, because I've actually had players say to me, what's going on? Like before a game, like what's going on? I'm like, well, I'm tailgating now with my friends and family. So I'm he's like, when you going to do the silver? And it's like, it's coming, because I usually put it on about an hour before we head in. And then I do pictures and, autographs with, everybody that's in and around the parking lot. But the simple fact is that now players, know what I am. In fact, one of the funniest stories I ever have is I actually went to a meet and greet with Julian Edelman, and he told everyone, he's like, give us a couple minutes. He pulls me to the side. He's like, dude, I love you. He's like, we all know exactly where you sit. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, I thought you knew that everybody knows who you are. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, so and the only reason I had known also, because obviously you guys must know that Julian Edelman, one of his best friends besides Tom, was Danny Amendola. So one game, Danny catches, actually it was probably one of the most iconic games for me and for a lot of people, is that Tom threw the ball to Julian and Julian threw the ball to Danny, and Danny got the touchdown right in front of me. So he came right up to the edge. I'm in front row, and we're picking him up, and he's yelling and screaming, and he came back later and gave me his glove, and then I got it signed later on. So the glove that he had for that incredible catch, like I actually have a signed glove. So it's absolutely crazy. But I'm very fortunate that people accept me and they don't think that I'm full of myself or that I planned this, because I'll be honest, I did not plan this. Like the way it evolved was no way near. I thought it was going to be a one and done. When I went to Super Bowl, I said, this is one and done. Then everyone's like, oh, you gotta, I keep getting told, well, you gotta come and you gotta do this and you gotta do that. And I'm like, what do you mean I gotta? So one of the greatest things I do is I travel. And about, I'm going to say probably like 10 years ago, I went to Dallas and I went to their fan club that they actually have the night before I went to the game on the Sunday. And they say every time they see me on TV, everyone in the bar has to do a shot. I said, well, you guys better hope that I don't show up on TV more than 4 times, because you're all going to be on your feet. Sir, you always got to fall right off your feet. I said, well, God bless you all for doing that. But yeah, so that's their little game. How many ever times Silver Bullet shows up on TV, we're all taking a shot, the dedicated and driven ones. But yeah, I mean, this is the biggest part of my life that I never would have thought was me. And the funny thing is, I told Emeril Lagasse, I said, when I was a kid, I was kind of shy because I wore glasses, I was chubby, and it's like, to evolve from that into this, like my whole, your life just keeps rolling along. And there's no part of me that's shy now. Like, I don't really care who I talk to, who I meet, who I see. Like, it's all good. And I think that I surprise a lot of people if they looked at 10-year-old little me.
Well, we're certainly glad you decided to join us. This has been very, very entertaining.
No, and as I said, to any of your viewers watching, if they ever want to come up, for even if it's just a tour of New England. I actually live right down the street from Helen Keller's house. She lived there for 12 years with Annie Sullivan. If you're into the macabre, the Lizzie Borden house is about 40 minutes away from me. And as I said, if you're actually into history, the Franklin Library is probably 7 minutes away from me, and it's the oldest library in the U.S. As well as Gillette Stadium has the tallest lighthouse in the entire United States as well. It's 14 stories, so hopefully you're not afraid of heights to go up there. And it's actually, for us, it's iconic. The fact that we have a lighthouse that you can actually go up in. And on any clear day, you can see the skyline of Boston, Providence, Wachusett Mountain, or the Bourne Bridge in Cape Cod.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And, as I said, we have a very good transit system that you can take the train to anywhere in or around, including the stadium. But unfortunately, it only gets there 90 minutes before a game, so you really don't get a lot of tailgating in.
Right.
And it's the same thing afterwards. It's 90 minutes after the game. So the minute the game's over, that clock's on. So you won't be stopping at no pro shop or, grabbing a couple of beers at one of the local bars that we have, but because you got to get to that train. Otherwise, you're going to be taking the bus out or Ubering, because, there's only one train that happens after the end of the game.
Well, sir, we are hanging just about an hour. This is kind of when we tend to wrap things up. We are more than, blessed to have had you on here for this long. You've definitely changed my perspective on, the New England culture. As I said, I'd be more than willing to consider it the next 3 to 4 years whenever we end up going there. I'd
Cool.
be sure to look you up, and if I end up going, I'll be 100% sure to stop by your tailgate. And
Absolutely.
I hope that if you ever come back to Cincinnati again, you stop by and see us. But we're very thankful, and thank you for coming on.
No, I'm honored that I get to be your inaugural guest this year. For the first time. For fans of other teams, because this is unique, and I love being a groundbreaker. So again, I wish you guys the best of luck Sunday. Not me, yes or no.
To a degree.
I'm not expecting too much. I'll be honest with you. I am a realist. I realize, again, we're a work in progress. And the fact is, I think if I expect anything else, I would just be plain greedy and, evil that people could want to. But the simple fact is, no matter what, I'm going to be a season ticket holder. That's why I tell people, good, bad, or indifferent. I realized last year, we were bottom of the barrel. And even if we are this year, I'm still going to be a season ticket holder, dedicated, driven, committed fan that's still going to every single home game and 4 away games. So, but I love meeting fans from all around the world. So please, if anyone is, please share my social media, and I'd love to meet and talk to anybody, because that's just what's been, part of me my entire life. So anyway, thanks again, guys. I'm honored that you guys looked at me.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. It's good for the NFL.
I love it. Take care, guys.
All right.
Have a good week.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. And that was the Silver Bullet.
The
for New
Silver
England Patriots.
Bullet.
I hope we get to run into him again. Maybe we'll have him back on in January. Who knows? You can only hope.
You never
right?
know.
With that being said, thank you for everybody who tuned in tonight. One of the more watched shows that we've had in a while, especially over the off season.
That's a big number for us right there.
So thank you for everybody that tuned in, and we will see you all Sunday morning for a cup of Joe.
And right into the stretch, looking back and throws up the middle. Rose is on his way around.